Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard someone hum a tune that made your soul stir, only to realize it was unfinished, unshaped, incomplete? That's what raw talent is. It's a beautiful fragment, a note. But without effort, it stays just that, a promise, not a performance. Because talent might give you the instrument, but work writes the melody. Work turns noise into music. So if you're ready to stop humming and start composing, let's talk about the song only you can sing. Raw talent is a beautiful thing. It's like hearing the first note of a powerful song, a note full of possibility, full of potential. It's the spark before the flame, the wind before the storm. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear: talent alone is not enough. It never has been. It never will be. Talent is a whisper. It calls you to greatness, but it doesn't guarantee you'll get there. It's the starting breath in a long symphony that only discipline and effort can complete. When someone is gifted, whether in voice, movement, intellect, or leadership, it's easy to admire that raw spark. But if you look deeper, the ones who truly rise are not just those with talent. They are the ones who build upon it, who stretch it, who sharpen it every day until it becomes a force. Talent by itself is untrained energy. It's raw clay, and clay doesn't shape itself. It waits for the hand that is willing to mold it, press it, and refine it into something that lasts. In every field, from music to sports, from art to science, the world is full of people who were once considered naturally talented. They lit up the room when they walked in. They amazed people without even trying. But many of them never reached their full potential. Why? Because they believed that the whisper of talent would be loud enough to carry them forever. But whispers fade. If you don't learn to project your voice, no one hears you when it matters most. Talent without effort is like a song that never gets finished. It has melody, but no harmony. It has spark, but no depth. It may catch attention at first, but it doesn't linger in people's hearts. And in the noise of the world, it gets drowned out. Because in the end, what moves people, what changes people, is not the potential you had, but the greatness you built. Greatness comes from showing up when it's hard, from rehearsing the same notes over and over until they're second nature, from failing, fixing, and trying again. Think about a dancer. Natural rhythm might help her start. She might have grace in her bones, music in her veins. But without hours of stretching, sweating, and training, she'll never be able to tell a story with her body. The world doesn't reward raw ability. It rewards refinement. It rewards consistency. It rewards those who are willing to show up even when the crowd isn't clapping. Talent can open doors, but only discipline will keep them open. It's the long hours that no one sees. It's staying after everyone else leaves. It's practicing until the muscles remember what the mind forgets. Talent is the invitation, but the work, that's your RSVP. That's your proof that you belong in the room, not just once, but for as long as you want to stay. Sometimes people use their talent as an excuse. They say, "I'm good at this. I don't need to try as hard." But that kind of thinking builds a weak foundation. Because what happens when you meet someone just as talented, but more focused? What happens when life tests you and the natural ability isn't enough? That's when the ones who worked will rise, because they didn't rely on their gift, they built muscle around it. And here's the powerful truth. Work doesn't cancel out your talent, it honors it. When you work, you're not saying your gift isn't enough. You're saying your gift deserves more. More structure, more protection, more power. Raw diamonds don't sparkle, until they're cut and polished. Voices don't become legendary until they've cracked, faltered, and been strengthened again. The work doesn't dim the talent, it amplifies it. This is not about choosing between talent and work. It's about understanding that one without the other is incomplete. You don't just need the notes. You need the rhythm, the timing, the delivery. That comes from repetition. That comes from pushing past what's comfortable and into what's possible. Talent is what you're born with. Work is what you choose. And what you choose, that's what defines your legacy. And the most empowering thing, you control the work. You may not control your starting point. You may not have had the perfect upbringing, the best opportunities, or the loudest support system. But none of that can stop someone who chooses to outwork their circumstances, who chooses to rise every time they fall, who chooses to become undeniable, not just because they were gifted, but because they refuse to waste the gift. That's the difference between talent that fades and talent that echoes. One burns out after the initial spark. The other becomes a fire that lights up the world. And that fire is fueled by daily choices. By waking up when it would be easier to sleep. By rehearsing when others are resting. By holding yourself accountable, even when no one is watching. That kind of discipline creates a song the world can't ignore. So yes, celebrate your talent, but don't worship it. Don't lean on it like a crutch. Respect it enough to develop it, to grow it, to challenge it. Because your gift is not the end. It's just the start. It's the heartbeat, not the whole body. The first step, not the entire journey. And that journey will test you. But if you keep walking, keep building, keep refining, you'll look back one day and see how far you've come. Not because you were born to win, but because you chose to work like your life depended on it. Because it does. Because your song, the one only you can write, is waiting. And raw talent, that's just the first note. The work, that's the song. Talent may give you tone, but it is the work that gives your voice its true shape. The truth is, no matter how gifted you are, your potential remains unfinished until you refine it through effort. Raw talent is a sketch. Work is the brushstroke that turns it into art. The greatest performers, creators, and achievers do not rely solely on natural gifts. They become who they are through discipline. They turn their talents into tools, and then wield those tools with intention, with mastery, and with unshakable commitment to craft. When you're born with a gift, the world often assumes everything will come easy for you. They imagine the gifted never struggle, never stumble, never have to learn what others do. But that's a myth. Even the most naturally talented voice needs tuning. Even the most instinctual movement needs rehearsal. The work is what sharpens the edge. It's what takes that spark inside you and turns it into something strong enough to withstand doubt, failure, and fear. Let's think about the voice, not just as a sound, but as a symbol of expression. Your voice is more than your words. It's how you show up, how you connect, how you lead. But no voice begins fully formed. A gifted singer may have the range, but not the control. A talented speaker may have charisma, but not clarity. A powerful thinker may have insight, but not precision. All of these gifts remain soft, undefined, and limited unless you choose to work them into something solid, something sharp, something capable of cutting through the noise. It's like having a beautiful blade still wrapped in stone. You have to grind it. You have to polish it. You have to endure the sparks of that friction, because that's how refinement happens. You must show up every day, not just when inspiration knocks, but especially when it doesn't. Talent shows up when it wants. Discipline shows up every day. And when you commit to the work, you begin to understand something profound. Repetition is not punishment. Repetition is power. Every note you rehearse, every step you repeat, every failure you analyze, it's all part of the sharpening. Because the work doesn't just strengthen your skill, it strengthens you. It teaches patience. It teaches focus. It teaches the power of persistence over time. When others fade, you stay. When others stop, you rise. And not because you're the most gifted, but because you refuse to stop showing up. There is a moment in every journey where talent alone no longer opens doors, where you face resistance, where you realize that what once impressed people no longer sustains them. This is the crossroads where many fall. They say, maybe I wasn't good enough. But the truth isn't that they weren't good. It's that they stopped sharpening. They thought the voice they had was the final version when it was only the beginning draft. Let's take this deeper. Every true artist, creator, or leader has learned that mastery is not about the spotlight. It's about the shadows, the hours alone, the unseen practice, the willingness to be bad so you can get better. This is where the work lives, not in the applause, but in the echo of your own effort bouncing off empty walls. This is where your voice becomes unmistakable, not loud, but clear, not perfect, but powerful. Because now it's rooted in something real. And this is what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers talk about potential. Doers shape it. They commit to the climb. They build muscle where others expect magic. And over time, they rise, not with a shout, but with a voice that has been tested, tempered, and trained. There is no shortcut to this. You can't cheat repetition. You can't replace discipline with motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It burns hot and fast. But discipline is the slow, steady flame that forges gold out of pressure. It is the only way you learn to sing your truth, walk in your purpose, and create impact that doesn't fade when the trends change. Consider the metaphor of a song. You might be born with rhythm, with pitch, with melody. But a real song, the kind that moves people, requires structure. It needs lyrics, it needs arrangement, it needs breath, timing, control, and all of that only comes from work. Without it, your gift is a freestyle with no flow, a sound without soul. But when you sharpen your voice through work, you turn your sound into a story. And your story becomes a symphony. You learn how to control what used to control you. You learn how to push past the cracks in your voice, the fear in your chest, the fatigue in your bones. You learn how to sing even when it hurts, how to keep rhythm even when the world feels off, beat. And most importantly, you learn to trust the work more than the outcome, because the outcome is temporary, but the work builds legacy. Sharpening your voice doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means becoming the fullest version of yourself. It means understanding your instrument, your gift, and owning every part of it. The highs, the lows, the imperfections. The work teaches you that your authenticity is the most powerful sound you can make. Not what's trendy, not what's expected, but what's true. And truth requires courage. Courage to keep practicing when no one claps. Courage to stay in tune when everything around you tries to distract you. So what does it take? It takes showing up when you don't feel like it. It takes silence, reflection, correction. It takes falling in love with the process, not just the praise. It takes humility to say, I can be better, and the fire to say, I will be. Because the ones who sharpen their voice don't just chase dreams, they build them. They don't wait to be chosen. They prepare like they already are. And when their moment comes, they don't just perform. They pierce the soul of the room. Not with volume, but with clarity. Not with perfection, but with purpose. So yes, talent may give you a voice, but only the work will give that voice something to say. Something worth hearing. Something unforgettable. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the flashiest. But you do have to do the work, because the ones who endure, the ones who rise, the ones who last, are not just talented, they are sharpened. And now, so can you. A voice, no matter how powerful, is meaningless if never used. Genius, no matter how brilliant, will fade into silence if not carried by action. Talent might make the world take notice for a moment, but only effort keeps the spotlight from moving on. Because the truth is simple and often sobering. Raw genius without effort is like a violin left untouched, full of potential, full of beauty, but producing no sound. And in a world overflowing with noise, only the ones who work rise above the static. There is a dangerous lie many people swallow, that being gifted is enough, that if you're born with brilliance, doors will fly open, the world will bow, and the work will somehow take care of itself. But talent is not a shortcut. It is merely a starting point. What separates legends from forgotten names is not how brightly they began, but how hard they pushed once the lights dimmed, because genius with no effort stays in the shadows. It never reaches the stage. It never finishes the song. It dies in the mind before it ever touches the world. You've seen it before. Voices with potential that never evolve. Dancers who never rehearse. Writers who never finish the page. All the signs of greatness, but none of the sweat. And what happens? That greatness dims, not because it wasn't real, but because it wasn't moved. It wasn't pushed. Genius without effort doesn't impress for long. Because the world watches what you do, not just what you could do. Imagine standing in a room full of instruments. Grand pianos, guitars, drums, harps, but no one touches them, no one plays. There's no rhythm, no melody, just silence and potential. That is what unpracticed talent looks like. The music may exist inside, but it remains locked, like a symphony no one hears. The gift becomes a ghost, and genius, instead of becoming legacy, becomes regret. Now imagine another room, fewer instruments. Maybe an old guitar with a broken string, a keyboard with a few sticky keys. But in this room, someone is playing, loudly, badly at first. But every day they come back, they learn, they tune, they fight for sound. And slowly, something magical begins to emerge. Not because they were the most gifted, but because they refused to let the silence win. That's the power of effort. That's the heartbeat of success. The world doesn't respond to unused brilliance. It responds to courageous consistency. Because let's face it, effort is not glamorous. It's often lonely. It's often messy. It asks you to repeat when you're tired, to stand when you've fallen, to keep going when the applause has stopped. But that's where the genius becomes undeniable. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. That's when it earns its wings. So many people bury their gifts under excuses. I'm waiting for the right moment. I'm not ready yet. I don't have the resources. But the truth is, genius is not waiting for perfection. It's waiting for permission. And that permission must come from you. Every time you decide to show up, every time you choose to improve, every time you act, even when fear whispers louder than faith, that's how brilliance is born. Not in flashes, but in choices. Here's what effort does that talent never will on its own. It builds trust. Not just from others, but from yourself. Every hour you put in becomes a brick in the foundation of your self-belief. You stop doubting your worth because you've earned it. You stop comparing yourself to others because you know what it took to become you. Effort grounds your genius. It takes it from a floating idea and plants it firmly in the soil of reality. When people look back at the greats, those who changed music, art, culture, science, they often only see the highlight reels, the big moments, the awards, the brilliance. But what's hidden behind every powerful performance is 1,000 failed rehearsals. What's behind every effortless solo is a mountain of unseen practice. What's behind every revolution is someone who worked when no one was watching. You don't need to be the most talented in the room. You just need to be the most devoted. Devotion creates momentum, and momentum over time becomes mastery. That's when your genius finds its true voice. Not because it screamed, but because it served, it stayed. It endured. It's easy to admire natural talent, but it's far more powerful to respect effort. Because effort means you chose growth. You chose humility. You chose to become something better than what you started with. That's where real transformation begins. In the doing, not the dreaming. Let's bring it home. Genius without effort is like a candle without a flame. It has all the potential to shine, but never will until it's lit. Your flame comes from your work, your grind, your focus, your fight. And here's the beautiful part. Every ounce of effort multiplies your light. One spark turns into a blaze. One step turns into a dance. One act of effort turns into a song only you could sing. The world isn't waiting for another person with potential. It's waiting for someone who's willing to do the work, to commit to the rhythm, to keep showing up when it's hard, when it's quiet, when it feels like no one cares. Because that's when your genius becomes a roar. That's when your story becomes an anthem. So don't let your gift die inside of you. Don't let your voice go unheard because effort felt too heavy. Every time you choose to work, you choose to live out loud. You choose to give your genius a chance to matter. And in the end, when people ask how you did it, you won't say, "I was the most talented." You'll say, "I worked when others waited. I rose when others rested. I didn't just have a gift. I gave it everything." That's what genius really sounds like. Not just beautiful, not just bright, but unforgettable. Some people think the most powerful part of a song is the high note, the climax, the part where the crowd rises to their feet, cheering, applauding, celebrating. But they're wrong. The soul of a song, the part that stays with you long after the music ends, isn't born in the spotlight. It's born in the struggle. It's created in the silence, in the practice room, in the countless moments where you fall out of rhythm, where you hit the wrong chord, where your voice cracks and your confidence shakes. That's where the real music lives, not in perfection, in persistence. Every masterpiece you've ever heard was once a mess, a jumble of notes that didn't make sense, a beat that didn't land, a melody that refused to come. But someone kept going. Someone kept showing up. They faced the silence, the rejection, the frustration, and still said, "I'm not done yet." That's the struggle, and that's where the song finds its power. See, people want the magic without the mess. They want the art without the agony. But the two can't be separated. You can't write a melody that moves the world without first being moved yourself. You can't sing from your soul unless your soul has been through something. The pain, the loss, the nights of self-doubt, they are not the enemy. They are the ink. They are the rhythm. They are the truth behind every unforgettable sound. And let's be honest, the struggle is where most people quit. Not because they're not talented, but because it's hard to keep going when no one's clapping. It's hard to sing when your throat is sore. It's hard to dance when your feet are bleeding. It's hard to believe in your voice when the world only hears noise. But the ones who break through, the ones whose songs echo long after they're gone, they didn't run from the struggle. They danced with it. They wrote through it. They let it sharpen them, not shatter them. Because there's something sacred about creating in the dark. When no one is watching, when no one understands, that's when your truth rises. That's when your identity forms, not around applause, but around authenticity. Struggle reveals who you are, not when you win, but when you refuse to stop even when you've lost. Some of the most iconic voices in history were born from heartbreak, from failure, from being told 100 times. But instead of folding, they turned rejection into rhythm. They turned silence into sound. They took every closed door and built a recording studio in their soul. That's what makes the song timeless. Not that it came easy, but that it came from somewhere real. This is true not just in music, but in life, in business, in relationships, in purpose. The people who leave a mark are not always the most gifted. They're the ones who leaned into the discomfort, who said, "This hurts, but I'm still here," who didn't fake perfection but embraced progress. The ones who let the tears fall, but kept singing anyway. You have to understand, your struggle is not a detour. It's the foundation. The heartbreak, the failure, the loneliness, they're part of the beat. They give your song depth. They give your story soul. No one remembers the songs that sound like every other. We remember the ones that make us feel, the ones that cut through the noise, and those are only written in the storm. But here's the thing, struggle alone isn't enough. Everyone struggles. What matters is what you do with it. Do you drown in it, or do you rise from it? Do you let it silence you, or do you find a new sound inside it? Struggle can be a weight, yes, but it can also be a drumbeat, a call to rise, to dig deeper, to get clearer about what you're creating and why. There is music in the pain, if you learn to listen closely. There's rhythm in rejection, if you stop taking it personal and start making it purposeful. Every moment you wanted to quit and didn't, you built a bar in your song. Every hour you practiced with no applause, you added a verse that only you could sing. That's the kind of art the world needs. Not more perfect notes, more honest ones. And let me say this, don't wait for the struggle to be over before you start singing. Don't wait for the pain to pass before you pick up the pen. Start now, right in the middle of the chaos. That's where the magic lives. That's where the song becomes real. Not rehearsed, not polished, but powerful. Because it comes from a place the world can't fake. You are not weak because you struggle. You are human. You are not broken because you've fallen. You are becoming. Every scar, every mistake, every time you miss the mark, it's all part of the music. Don't hide it. Use it. That's your edge. That's your story. And nobody else can sing that song but you. Think about the Shakira, a bird that doesn't wait for clear skies to fly. It rides the storm. It cuts through the wind. It hunts even in the rain. Why? Because its strength isn't in avoiding struggle. It's in mastering it. You too can rise through turbulence. You too can learn to fly through thunder. Not in spite of your struggle, but because of it. So write the song, play the note. Keep going even if your voice trembles, even if no one is listening yet. Because one day they will. One day, the world will hear the power in your melody and realize it was the struggle that gave it weight, that made it memorable, that gave it heart. And when that moment comes, when you finally stand on that stage, In whatever form your dream takes, you won't look back and wish it was easier. You'll be grateful it was hard, because now you know the truth. The struggle didn't stop your song. It was the song. Would you like the final keynote? Keynote 5D. Your work ethic is your rhythm section? Next, in the same tone and style, every unforgettable song has a rhythm section. It's not the flashiest part of the music. It doesn't always get the spotlight, and it rarely receives standing ovations. But without it, the entire performance collapses. The rhythm section is what keeps everything grounded. It's the heartbeat, the foundation, the steady pulse that drives the energy forward. And in your life, in your dream, that rhythm section is your work ethic. Talent can sing the melody, inspiration can strike the chord. But it's discipline that keeps the tempo. It's routine that holds the beat. Your work ethic isn't about being perfect every day. It's about showing up, rain or shine, whether you're on fire or running on empty. It's about doing the reps, practicing the notes, writing the verses, even when nobody's clapping, even when you're tired, especially when you're tired. You see too many people confuse momentum with motivation. They only move when they feel excited. But that's not rhythm, that's randomness. That's a burst, not a groove. Rhythm means consistency. It means hitting your mark again and again until excellence becomes your default. It means training your body, your mind, and your soul to keep showing up, even when the world stops noticing. Because true rhythm isn't for show, it's for survival. When the crowd disappears, when the lights dim, when the voices in your head get louder than the ones in the arena. Your work ethic is what keeps you moving. It's the drummer behind the curtain, the bass line beneath the melody, quiet, powerful, relentless. And here's the truth, your rhythm will get tested. Life will try to throw you off beat. Rejection, heartbreak, fear, failure. They'll all come crashing in like noise, trying to interrupt your tempo. But if you've built a rhythm, if you've trained your heart to beat through chaos, then nothing can knock you off track for long. It's not the loudest person who wins. It's the most consistent, not the one with the most talent, but the one who refuses to skip rehearsal, the one who does the work when no one is watching, the one who knows that rhythm isn't just about talent. It's about timing, and time rewards those who show up on the downbeat, over and over again. The greatest performers in the world don't succeed because they're born with more. They succeed because they commit more. They master the mundane. They become obsessed with repetition, with improvement, with showing up when it's boring, when it's uncomfortable, when it's lonely. Their rhythm is their discipline, and their discipline becomes their advantage. Imagine this: your dream is a song, and every time you put in the work, every morning you rise early, every time you train, write, build, or create, you're laying another beat down, another pulse in the groove. Over time, those beats become a rhythm so strong, so unstoppable, that not even doubt can disrupt it. And when the opportunity finally comes, and it will come, it's your rhythm that will carry you through, not luck, not hype. Rhythm. Because when the spotlight finds you, you don't want to be guessing your next move. You want your work to feel like a dance you've rehearsed 1,000 times. Automatic, natural, fierce. Not because it's easy, but because it's earned. People will always be drawn to the fire of talent, but they'll stay for the rhythm of consistency. They'll trust what you've built beat by beat, step by step, day by day. You don't have to be the loudest, the flashiest, or the most gifted. You just have to be the most faithful to your rhythm. Think about that Shakira bird again. It doesn't soar because of raw wings. It soars because of disciplined flying, precision, control, timing. The rhythm of its wings isn't spontaneous. It's trained. It's practiced. And that's what gives it power in the storm. That's what makes it dangerous. Not just the wings, but how they're used. That's you. You don't need to flap louder. You just need to keep flying your rhythm, no matter how strong the wind. Your work ethic is your rhythm section. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the noise makers from the history makers. And here's the beautiful part: rhythm can be built. You don't have to be born with it. You don't have to feel it right away. You create it by deciding to do the work daily, to commit, to repeat, to grow. Even when your voice shakes, even when your hands tremble, even when your heart questions everything, you show up, you hit the drum, you lay another beat, and another, until one day you look back and realize your rhythm carried you farther than you ever imagined. No one will remember how perfect you were on day 1, but they'll remember how persistent you were by day 1,000. They'll feel your rhythm, even if they don't understand the grind behind it. And when your song plays, when your moment comes, they'll think it was magic, but you'll know it was rhythm. It was hours. It was sweat. It was refusal to quit. That's the real music. That's the real story. So don't envy the ones who start fast. Be the one who stays steady. Don't worship the ones with talent. Learn from the ones with rhythm. Become someone whose footsteps echo like a drumbeat, whose habits form like verses, whose soul moves to the tempo of resilience. Because in the end, talent is a spark. But rhythm, that steady, grinding, untouchable rhythm, that's the fire that burns forever. And you are not just here to perform. You are here to build a beat so bold, so unshakable, that it becomes your legacy. Let your work ethic lead. Let your rhythm guide. And never stop playing. Because the world is waiting for the music only you can make. So here's what I leave you with. Raw talent might catch a spark, but it's the rhythm of your work that keeps the fire alive. It's not enough to dream, you must do. It's not enough to have a voice, you must train it. The world doesn't need more potential. It needs more rhythm makers, more warriors of routine, more artists of effort. When the noise fades and the lights dim, it won't be talent that carries you forward. It'll be the quiet, stubborn, relentless rhythm of your work. So don't wait for someone to hand you a song. Build your own, beat by beat, note by note, day by day. And when your moment comes, let them hear the music of everything you survived, everything you sacrificed, everything you built with your bare hands. Because that song, that's the one the world will never forget. That's your legacy. Now go play it, loud, fierce, and apologetically.